Hello, my name is Jifa Ametobla. I'm a sociologist at Technische Universität Berlin, and I'm going to present a joint paper with Lutz Prechelt from Freie Universität Berlin, in which we ask how layered reuse can support harmful micropolitics. In our paper, we look at the interaction of social and technical properties of a socio-technical system, in our case, a hospital. More specifically, we investigate surgery planning with ERP software and focus on the micropolitics of software use and misuse. If you're not familiar with the term micropolitics, just think of power games in organizations. Our research question was, how does the software used for surgery planning in the hospital interact with the micropolitical dynamics on site? To answer this question, we performed a single case study in a big university hospital in Germany. The hospital had introduced an ERP software 3 years before the beginning of our study. For data collection, I repeatedly visited this site during a 12-month period, interviewed various members of staff, and observed coordination and planning processes. I also collected various instances of the software documentation. All this was the basis for a strategic analysis of organizations, which is an interpretative methodology to reconstruct micropolitical games. You will find more information on our methods and the case study in our paper, and in this presentation I will show you one tiny example of software misuse due to micropolitics. The hospital had a decentralized planning process for surgery, which means that each of the 12 surgical departments had first access to a subset of all operation rooms and created its own surgical plan every day. The hospital board wanted to raise the capacity utilization of its operation rooms. And for this to happen, the departments had to share operation rooms when they were unused. The hospital wanted to use the ERP system. The idea was that the software would make the department plans transparent, and then an outsider could see which operation rooms were unused at specific times and reallocate these OR times from one department to another. The problem with this plan was that the powerful heads of department did not want external intervention into their planning processes. So Department A, the department from our example here, developed a method of systematically lowering the data quality in their plans that was not visible for outsiders. Department A created a daily plan in which all mandatory information was contained, but every operation was planned to last exactly 2 hours. For outsiders, the plan looked like a long list of more or less identical operations. The actual plan was different because operation times varied considerably. All insiders of the department communicated about these operation times directly or via phone. Outsiders had no chance to find out which operations were planned actually for one day, so outsiders could not reallocate unused OR times. But this problem was only visible for those who tried to reallocate these OR times, but not to the board, because the reports about the departments in ERP did not show this data manipulation. The reports focused on financial information about the departments, and although this discrepancy of planned and actual operation times was stored somewhere in the ERP database, it was hard to prove. So overall, the ERP introduction improved the reporting of income-relevant data, but did nothing for process transparency. Our thesis is that in this case we see micropolitical dynamics common to hospitals in interaction with software properties. And we asked us how can a software that is supposedly designed for hospitals not have mechanisms in place that would at least make visible such obvious data manipulation? Our answer is that this effect is due to layered reuse. We see a domain paradigm at work, namely the idea that all organizations are somehow variations of the factory, and that software that fits a factory will also fit a hospital, more or less. The causes of layered reuse lie in the biography of ERP software. We know that ERP systems accumulate functional layers over time, and the basis for the functionality are assumptions about the domain of application. So in our case, the core of our ERP system was designed for manufacturing organizations, and when the software expanded into healthcare, it retained basic data structures and logics from manufacturing. The functional layers each added domain-specific adaptations, but most of them were optional. So, in theory, hospital-specific micropolitics could have been checked by using all the adaptations, but in fact, extensive customization is costly and risky, and it is also not recommended. So the mismatch of domain assumptions could be remediated by extensive customizing, but this mismatch remained undetected due to the domain paradigm. To sum up, in our case study, actors intentionally decreased data quality of their plans to lower the transparency of their processes, and the structure of reporting in the ERP system made the micropolitical misuse invisible. We think that the root cause of this effect is layered reuse, meaning that layered components contain assumptions about the initial application domain and transfer them to other domains where they don't necessarily fit. This has implications for software engineering, but mainly we want to raise awareness of layered reuse. We think that software engineers should investigate built-in assumptions of components they intend to reuse, and if they find a stack of layered components, they should evaluate the fitness of this stack for their application domain. Thank you for listening.